I'm really excited today, Brad, to spend this time with you because it's one of the things I've really wanted to accomplish as City Serve begins to take shape and we figure out who we are and what we're for and how it all works, is this engagement between business and spirituality. Business leaders have a certain persona, a certain set of gifts that they bring to the mix. A lot of times they're kind of pigeonholed in leadership roles within the church, elders, boards, that kind of thing. But I think there's a lot more that you bring to the table than just those few things. And hopefully we can discover a little bit of that today. Okay. So I'm excited about that. So this is Brad Thorstenson. He has been in business a long time. He's a third generation leader in business. His business was passed on from his father, and you bought the business in
30 years ago.
30 years ago.
Yeah. So my son is 30 now, and he is now basically running it. I show up every day. Sometimes I sweep the shop. Sometimes I go get a truck. Sometimes I'll go interview a new employee or something. But I have it's a very good season for me right now.
So be honest with me. Did you really want to do this in the beginning? Or I mean, from the very beginning, did you want to run Interstate Pest Control?
Absolutely. That's
amazing.
I only had 2 jobs. I had a paper route and then a pest control business. And I would take trade magazines on the football bus and read them. If my dad had a sewer business, I'd probably be in the sewer business. If we were carpenters, I probably would have been a carpenter. That's the only thing I would have changed. With pest control, you go do stuff, and if there's no news, it's good news. So there's nothing you leave behind that you can see. If I always thought, it'd be cool to be a carpenter in construction or something. You could go by 10 years later and see what you did. But we just have relationships and that we are lasting. Those are our things that stand out for a long time. But I just always wanted to be in business. Now my kids, on the other hand, they did not like riding in the bug truck to school. They didn't want anything to do with it. But
what was your dad like?
My dad was very gregarious, very disjointed. He would go around and do work all over town, forget to bill people, and then he really needed my mom. But he came up here in '67. He had $1,000 and knocked on doors. And he would dig a ditch. He would spray your trees. So he started out spraying a lot of shrubs and trees, fruit spraying, and then he got a big weed contract at Longview Fiber, which is now West Rock, and that kind of put them over the edge, over the top. And then he always kept it kind of small. We still have West Rock's contract today.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, so we're very proud of that. We might be losing it, though. They're going to one contractor for the whole West Coast, and I don't know if we'll be able to do that, but we're trying to do our best to keep that. But that's our longest running. It's really a pride thing.
What did you learn from your dad? Because it seems like this is a big part of your story, is this generational business that you're part of.
My dad he's a super hard worker, and he had great stick. He just would stick to stuff, and he would just keep doing it, and he wasn't afraid to try things. And if he failed, he would just try again. And I think I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I'm now, between my dad and my son now, I am probably more like my dad, and then my son he is a whole different. He wouldn't mow his own lawn if he didn't have to. He wouldn't fix his car. I'm very hands-on. He doesn't get up from his desk all day long.
Yeah,
but
so he's working with you.
Yeah, he'll be buying it this year. So
this year,
a good big portion of it. So he was a CPA for a while, so he kind of has a different mindset.
Yeah. What do you think your kids learn from you?
I think I'm just very dependable.
Yeah,
I think I'm dependable. I think I'm a leader. Every time the door's been open at church, we've been there their whole life. Now our kids aren't in church now. We're still praying for them to be a little more active about their faith, but I think I'm just a faithful guy that shows up every day.
You do seem like a really faithful guy, and that steadiness is really inspiring to people. I think that a lot of people are looking to be inspired with that kind of trait, that kind of personality trait. When they see it in people, it's really easy to kind of overlook it at first and then go, wait a minute, there's something about that guy that I really am drawn to. Do you find yourself, how do you do relationally? Because I think in business you have an obligation to be relational to people. And once you get out of there, are you that? Do you have that same feeling about relationship when you're at work and not at work?
I think so. I think my natural personality is I'm a servant type. I like to do gifts of service.
Yeah.
So I'm in the service business. That's what we do, and I think we do a very good job of service. I kind of shy or step back a little bit from leadership a little bit, even though I have a business and I've navigated it for a number of years, and but I feel like I'm a very good supporting person, but I think I lead at my company as well.
I'm sure you do lead. I'm sure you do. Yeah. What's your favorite part of being a follower of Jesus? What's the thing that really stirs you about that relationship you have with Jesus in front of other people?
Well, he's our provider, and he's our protector, and he's our sustainer, and he's just, there's nothing without that, without your relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
And there's so many things in life that he's just provided that I could not even done myself. It's just even, we were just yesterday, we went and hired a new employee. It's like, where did you bring this? We went through all of COVID. You hear all these people saying, oh, we're short on labor and we don't have employees. We had capacity the whole time. And we're not that great, but God just supplied. And COVID was, I hate to say it, but it was a boon for us. We people are at home, and we have never grown quicker or faster than we did in that period of time.
What a blessing for your son.
Yeah. I've told him, all right, it's not always like this. You're good, but yeah. So we've had a very good season. So
you've had a few pastors over your life.
Mm-hmm.
From your standpoint, Brad, what do you think pastors need most from the people around them?
Respect and support. I always tell my pastors, it's not a harder job. I could not handle the responsibility. It's either too hot, it's too cold, the music's too loud, you don't speak hard enough, you speak too. I just want to be very supporting to my pastors, and I don't want to be a burr in their saddle. I just think they need support and love.
Yeah.
And encouragement.
Yeah, I think from a pastor standpoint, what you bring to the table is really important, and I think a lot of people tend to look at the main thing that you bring is stability, because there's a lot of instability in the church, a lot of fragile people, a lot of hurt people that are being healed and are in a process of recovery. But it just seems like people in the business realm have worked through a lot of that stuff themselves. They're operating a business that requires them to be steady, that requires them to stay focused, that to be diligent. And so I think you bring a ton to the table that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily recognize or value. Obviously, the financial stability you have is probably a big boon to most pastors, because there is so much instability financially in the church, and you'd probably be a great person to talk to somebody about how to be disciplined in their finances, be a good steward of the things that they have. So you get tapped for that a lot, but I think just the fact that you serve, Brad, and you see yourself as a servant, opens the door for you to be yourself and not have to try to be somebody else, which is a huge blessing to the church. Could you talk for a little bit about how it feels from your side to be a servant within the body of Christ? Do you feel like you're effectively utilized? Do you feel like you wish people would tap into that a little bit more?
Honestly, my wife probably pushes me a little bit more that I should do more.
Yeah.
Because I like to lead. I've been prophesied over a little bit to, speak into young men's lives and stuff. So that's something I want to do more.
Yeah.
I think I've been utilized. We do a home group. We've passed whatever they ask us to do.
Yeah.
We do. We used to do dinners for 8 at our church, and used to be a deacon at the church. We don't have anymore, but yeah. So I think I bring talents to the church, and I think I'm being utilized.
Yeah. I watched you the other day. We were at a church gathering together, and your wife was busy doing things.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw you stand in the back and talk to one guy for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a younger guy, and I assumed that he was talking to you because he wanted to spend time with you. He's interested in what you thought, and you were patiently just taking the time with him to do relationship with him. And I think sometimes we think of all the things we can do for the church, and one of the encouragements I'd have for you is that what you can be, who you can be in the church, is probably more important than what you do, because your influence is probably greater than you realize. That's one of the things I've learned once I've got out of the church a little bit, is that I have a lot more influence than I realize, just as a person, as for who I am. And how do you think you can cultivate that? I mean, as a business leader coming and being part of the church, how can you cultivate the influence you have to accomplish the things that God wants to accomplish in the church, things for the kingdom?
That's a good question. Well, I super believe in iron sharpens iron. You need to be around people to direct you in the right ways, and sometimes maybe push you a little bit where you need to be pushed. And because I'm one that probably needs a fire in me a little bit. I show up every day. I'll show up every day, and sometimes I need a little direction. So, but I don't like to veer off. But I seem like in church I spend so much time at work. I'll bring work stuff in too much, because even at church it's like, a pastor says, well, we don't go by numbers, but I think, well, how do you measure stuff? But we don't. The Lord will provide, but in world and work, you measure everything by numbers and metrics, and so I have a hard time sometimes making that transfer.
Yeah. How do you do with patience?
Patience? Well, I think I'm very patient. As patience is with people.
Yeah, or processes. Yeah, it just seems like you really are. You're a very patient person.
Yeah, I'm pretty even.
Kind of methodical.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, if you could change anything in the way we do American church, what would you change?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't want to be the guy that's just not me to come in and tell a pastor how to run his church, because he has his influence, his circle of influence. I'm sure he's going to you guys get together and you speak, and just like pest control, I go to peer groups, we have coaches, and I don't want to come. I mean,
Well, let me just tell you what I was thinking. I've been a Christian long enough to remember back in the early days, in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, it just seems like we spent a lot more time together. And it seems like in the last 10 years, we have slowly been spending less and less time together. Absolutely. As a church family. And I grew so much and was so encouraged and learned so much by just spending time with other believers, especially guys that were a little bit further along in the process than I am. So that's one of the things I think I would change. I would just spend more time together, being a church family, because I think we can learn from each other that way. I was just thinking about you.
Well, I totally agree, because for years, you go Sunday morning, Sunday night, you go Wednesday night, and hopefully there's an event. We still cruise around. We'll go to a number of churches just to get that same amount of fellowship.
Yeah. And
now we rely so much on home groups, and you see it in business as well. All the guys my age used to go to all these conferences. They'd go hang out in the lobby and talk. Guys my son's age, they don't. Why would I drive clear over to Leavenworth, meet with a bunch of guys and talk to them? I could talk to them on the phone or text them.
Yeah.
But there's things you just don't pick up if you're not with somebody. If you're not, rubbing up elbows with somebody, you don't.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that's my age or our age that missed that, and if it's changed and we need to change with it. But I totally agree. I wish we were together more.
Well, don't you think part of the dynamic that's going on is we seem somewhat hesitant to invite people into our lives. And I know that there's a lot of young people. I try to initiate a lot of relationships with younger people, and I find that they love it. For one, they love the fact that you want to spend time with them, but they also, once they taste it, they want more of it. They don't want to just stop with one or two times. They want more of it. And I think sometimes the people that are my age, we tend to kind of shut that down and wait for people to come to us. But I think part of that family dynamic, Brad, is us continuing to reach out to them. And I think that that's something that you really bring to the table, is that you have a lot of stability and wisdom, which is what people that are younger are kind of hungry for right now. And I'm just thinking, how can the church be more relationally intentional in the way that they do life together? You have any ideas about how we can maybe do some more of that? I mean, you talked about going to more services. I don't think we're going to go to more services.
Well, no, yeah, because that time I don't know is gone, coming back around. But I don't know. I'm just a task-oriented person. If you had tasks for me as a group to do, that would be something I would be involved in.
Yeah.
And I think guys especially like tasks.
When you think about the future, what do you see in the next 10 years of your life? What do you want to do with the next 10 years? How do you want to spend your time?
Well, we hope to do mission work and go on mission. I'm very thankful. I really honestly thought I was going to expire underneath a house, that we were going to get by. My wife is just such a godly woman, and she says, we tithe, we do everything, we'll be fine. I was like, I don't know if you're going to be fine. We're just getting by, but we're going to be able to retire, and we'll be able to travel, and I hope to go on mission works. And there's a new thing, and the business guys, there's a whole culture now helping you transition from working to and retiring to something rather than just retiring. I don't have no interest in being a snowbird and I equate retiring with dying. So I don't think I'm ever going to identify as retired. So.
Yeah. Well, I know that you've done, I've read your bio on the website, your website, that says you've done a couple triathlons. That takes a huge amount of discipline to do something like that. So you're probably going to be pretty intentional after you quit work, after you've retired.
I plan to, yeah.
Yeah. Is that intentionality laced with spirituality? I mean, it just seems like in some ways you're kind of waiting for this opportunity to give yourself even more to the things that God has for you.
Yeah, I do. And I hope I am as intentional about it as I've been. I still get up and go to work and every day, and I want to be intentional about getting up and go, like you said, go meet with men and doing that, and keep that fire, because you get up every day and you literally for 40 years you do the same thing and run around, get in the truck but I don't want to lose that. I don't want to get soft. I want to be sharp for the Lord and for His work, and still kind of try to navigate that.
Yeah,
you can actually spend a lot of money with people that will help you figure that out. But I'm thinking I shouldn't have to have people help me figure that out. The Lord can point me in the right direction.
Yeah, yeah. How do you what do you sense is the thing that your pastor wants most from you? When you see him, when you're talking to him, what is it that you feel like he wants from you most, or desires from you most?
I think he wants my undying support. I mean, obviously he's open to criticism, but I just think he wants somebody to come up beside him and encourage him and tell him. I mean, this is what I feel, that you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
And you're doing a great job with our church. You're leading great. We appreciate this. And I have very little criticism. And if I did, it'd be in a little bit, because he's doing a great job. And but I think whatever he asks, I'm always going to try to say yes.
Yeah.
Even I did not want to. I wasn't. My wife's super good about home groups and stuff. I wasn't really. I like going, but we've had a home group for a while, and we support the church that way. And so,
yeah,
whatever they ask, I just want to be a yes for him, and not somebody that he would hesitate to ask me for something.
Yeah. Well, just from my perspective, from what I've seen and heard and felt, he probably wants your friendship too. I mean, I think that's something that people don't see, that pastors really value as much. I mean, yeah, they want the support. Yeah, they want loyalty and that kind of stuff. But man, it's just, sometimes it's a lonely place to be. And you know what it's like to be lonely as a business leader too. I mean, it's like you against the world trying to make this thing work. Mm-hmm. Well, pastors feel the same kind of thing. And I think what you would bring to your pastor and into his life is not just stability, but and a heart to be a servant, but to be a friend to him. I mean, pastors just need that. They need that more and more, and especially coming through what we have come through the last 3 years. They're pretty beat up and pretty worn
that was
out.
a tough time to navigate.
Yeah, so that would be the one thing I would encourage you and Brad is that, as a pastor, I would like to have a friend like you.
Yeah, I'll receive that.
That would be a great thing to enjoy. Well, I just want to say thanks. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for taking the time to talk about these things that are kind of like nobody really talks about this stuff. But part of the reason why I wanted to have this conversation with you is maybe some pastors could see how business leaders think and feel and how they approach the church, and maybe give them some insight into how they can connect better with people that have the same heart that you do and the same experience you do. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
We really hope today's episode was helpful. You'll find more resources and content to connect with other community leaders by going to our website, cityservecowlitz.org. So, it's been a joy to walk with you, and we'll see you.